Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Creating Powerful Affirmations webinar. It's wonderful you decided to take this time for yourself and learn more about affirmations, whether you're beginning them or maybe you've been using them for quite some time. So if you'd like, you can put in the chat where you're from. And I know we've got people from a lot of different places coming in. So you can just put in the chat where you're from. The other place you can put it in is the Q&A if you want. I've started the chat over here and to everyone. Okay. Ooh, North Carolina, great. Canada, fabulous. And I know there's some others on here. So where are you from? I am from Lake Arrowhead, California, which is about an hour and a half north up in the mountains above Los Angeles. And today it's in the low 40s. We haven't really gotten to spring yet, unfortunately. However, it's getting there. My daffodils are still blooming, but today we've got some rain and a little bit cool. Brazil, fantastic. Oh, that's great. Wonderful. Well, I'm going to encourage you not to have any distractions. Put your cell phone away, turn it off, or just put it where you can't reach it, at least. But to really focus completely on what we're doing today, because that's what you'll get the most value from, to really deepen your understanding of affirmations and begin making them even more powerful for yourself. Actually, you can put in the chat if you're already familiar with affirmations, you're just starting, or maybe someone told you you ought to be on this and you're not even sure why you're here, but we welcome you. Yes, our COO, Christy Dixon, she is fantastic and amazing, not only assistant for us, but also a Heal Your Life teacher and coach. And she's going to answer questions, putting in some different links that we're using. Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is just close your eyes. I want to do a little centering to begin. I love doing that at the beginning because it just gets us to a deeper level and allows your mind and your heart to take things in more fully. So if you'll go ahead and take some nice deep breaths and close your eyes and just allow your body to relax. Breathing in relaxation and breathing out any tension or stress you might be feeling. For some of you, it's the beginning of the day. For some of you, it's the end of the day. So you might have had a few things during the day that you'd want to let go of. Just allow your shoulders and your neck and your back to relax and let go. Those are the places where we hold so much tension, trying to do it all right and trying to support the entire world. You don't need to do that. Just let go. Take a few more deep breaths. And then when you feel ready, you can open your eyes and just stretch a little bit. So I want to get started on a PowerPoint to share with you. In the beginning. Oops. Previous. Okay, so some of you already know me and others may not. My name is Dr. Patricia Crane, and I'm an author, speaker, and trainer. I'm also the master trainer for the Heal Your Life trainings. And many of you may know that I did study with Louise Hay personally, and that is a long story for another webinar. And that evolved into her approving a training program, which is going on today. This is actually our 30th year. And we have Heal Your Life workshop leaders and coaches in 70 countries, which is quite amazing. So what I'm sharing today, I want to let you know how I discovered the power of affirmations, why they work and why they don't sometimes. And probably you've been doing some affirmations that haven't worked and you would really like them to be producing the kinds of results that you want. I created 8 principles for creating the powerful affirmations. I'll have examples. I talked about some of those in the promo, and how to become more aware of your old beliefs and change them. Because when the old beliefs are sitting there, even if you're doing your affirmations and have them energetically, You haven't released those old beliefs, and that's a really important thing to do. So it's been said that 90% of life is showing up. So I'd say give yourself a hug and thank yourself for showing up today. And just to thank you, we really want to offer you some special bonuses. So make sure you stay on to the end of the webinar. Now, here's an important one. Why do affirmations work? They do not work just because they're in your mind, right? They're not part of our ego. Affirmations really work well because they align you with a power greater than yourself. You can call it divine wisdom, infinite potential, God, or any other words that for you feel expansive. But we're connecting with that bigger energy outside ourselves that is the creative energy of the universe. And that's the main reason why they work. However, we also know now from research that when you're doing affirmations, they actually create new synapses in your brain. Why is that important? Well, it's important because when you've had lots of negative thoughts over time, you actually have synapses that grow stronger and more of them. When you start doing affirmations, the reason it's so important for you to do them consistently is that you actually are creating those new synapses in your brain. So it's kind of like a train track where they can go down more easily. Now, here's how I discovered affirmations. Back in my late 20s, I was a stressful mess, quite honestly. And a dear friend of mine said, you know, it might really help you to meditate. And so she took me to a meditation workshop and introduction for it. And I did start meditating, and I found that it was incredibly valuable for me. Initially, I just called it a stress management technique. I really wasn't interested in anything spiritual, believe me. But the more I meditated, the more I realized that I actually was connecting to this greater wisdom. And I also noticed that I would think things and they would happen. And it got to the point where it was a little bit scary. And so I went on a search for how did this happen? And of course, when you're open to that and you're really asking for help, it shows up, doesn't it? So I began finding books and workshops, all of which were telling me how we create our reality and how to use affirmations to do that. So that's how I actually began using affirmations, and very successfully. Initially, it was mostly about creating new careers and new jobs that I was going into. And I found that that worked very well, and along with prosperity as well. So I'm really excited to share with you my just idea of how we can have fun with affirmations, because sometimes we get so serious about all this stuff. And that seriousness can actually, believe it or not, kind of block things. So imagine that the universe is like a cosmic kitchen, ready and willing to fulfill your orders. Okay, just take that in for a moment. It's a fun image. So again, we realize, you know, you can have fun with affirmations. You don't just use them when there's one area of your life that's creating a problem, or you find a problem in, or you want to change. But you can use them for every area of your life. And you can use them for lots of fun things too. And I'm going to talk about that in my trip to Hawaii that was free. So, 8 principles, ordering from the Cosmic Kitchen. And many of you know that I am the author of the book, Ordering from the Cosmic Kitchen, that has lots of stories and lots of affirmations in it as well. So the first principle is you need to decide what you want. And I know that sounds easy, but I've found over the years working with people that it isn't always that easy. Because there may be a lot of conflicting things. You're not really sure if you really want to go in that direction. And my advice to you is just write them out as though you're going for it anyway. One of the questions I've gotten often is, well, how many affirmations can you do at one time? Now, if you're thinking of it from our limited brains, you might think, well, maybe about 10 or 15 or whatever. But really, the universe can handle an infinite number of your affirmations. So you don't need to be concerned about whether or not you have a limited number. You can do as many as you want. But the first thing is really to sit down and just think about and maybe do some journaling on what is it that you want. And, you know, just let your mind go and your heart go, and just write as much as you can so that you can then go back and say, okay, what is it that I really want? I'm going to give you some examples coming up. So that's the first principles. You need to decide what you want. Second principle, and I'm sure many of you on here that are doing affirmations, you know this one very clearly, but the 3 P's of affirmations, they're positive, they're present tense, and they're personal, right? So we don't use the word not or don't in affirmations because that gives you exactly the idea of what you don't want. So they're always positive, they're personal, and present tense, as though it's already happened. And I've had some people say, well, you know, it's hard for me to really do an affirmation that says it's already happened because it hasn't. Well, that's why you're doing them. But if you think about a compass on a ship and how the compass has to go in a new direction, but it doesn't jump, it goes gradually. And so as you're doing your affirmations and doing them in the present tense, they're bringing you more and more into alignment, especially when you're doing your affirmations along with meditation or anything else that gives you that deeper connection with the universe, because that's when they really, really get powerful. The third one, personal, you know, they're always about you. And one of the questions that I get often especially for moms, is, well, I want to do affirmations for my children. So what do I do? Well, you can't do them for them to make them do certain things. But what you can do is say, I am guided in the best way to help my child do whatever, or gain whatever, or make a change, or whatever it is. So that you're actually focusing back on yourself to provide the guidance and to get the guidance of how to help rather than you deciding ahead of time, right? And that's very important. And another piece of this is that affirmations are not about controlling things. Going back to that alignment with the universal energy, you are aligning your heart and your mind with the universal energy to make an impact on the world and to create what you want. But it's not about control. Okay, the next principle, number 3, is that you include words that are positive and energetic. Like, I am so excited that, oh, it's fabulous. Oh, I'm excited that this is going to happen. I love it that. And you're really putting the energy into it when you're saying them. And it's not just saying the affirmations rotely, right? It's not just saying, I feel joy in life. I mean, the universe isn't paying attention to that one at all. I feel joy. I'm so excited to get up in the morning. I'm so grateful. And gratitude is such a big part of this as well. We'll get to that one. The fourth principle. Sorry. The fourth one is trust the timing. And I know that sometimes the timing is very important. You know, if you've got like the rent coming up or something important for you to do, or you're worried about your health, that the timing can feel very important. But it's really a principle that's important to let go of the timeline and trust the timing. And I'll give you an example from my own life. You know, I mentioned in the promo that I'm in a relationship with my husband for 30 years. And I'd say this at this time and place in the world, that's a really good record to be. And yet I was married first, once before. And when I was getting my divorce, I really felt like I was ready for my soulmate. And I'll tell you what, that was pretty arrogant of me. But I had done a lot of spiritual work at the time, and I just thought I was ready. And I will tell you that my ex-husband and I are still friends. I know his new wife, he knows Rick, my husband, and we have stayed in touch over the years and encouraged each other. But what happened was, as I started, you know, affirming for this perfect relationship that I wanted, it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. It took 7 years before I met Rick. And what I realized in that time is not only was I getting ready for him, he was getting ready for me because he was just starting his spiritual work those 7 years before. So infinite patience produces immediate results is a saying from A Course in Miracles. And I know that sometimes we don't really want to be patient, but that's a part of it. It's letting go. and not getting so intense on what you're trying to create that you're actually keeping it away. So letting go of your timeline. And the next one is to let the cosmic chef decide how you receive your offer or the order, right? And why is that? Well, because if you start trying to figure it out, that's actually called outlining. And that's actually goal setting. And with affirmations, you're letting it go and you're letting the universe bring you whatever it is that your heart desires, again, in the perfect time, but also the how. And I'll tell you how that happened for me. And it was really important lesson for me as well. Um, I was affirming to be teaching. I was actually an administrator for a wellness program. We had 5 companies with a total of 6,000 employees, and I was the administrator. And I was setting up people to do the stress management courses, the weight loss and stop smoking, and all those kinds of courses, and the exercise programs, etc. And what I realized was, I don't really want to be an administrator. I want to be teaching this. And I was already teaching some stress management in a few little places. And so I started doing an affirmation, and it included everything. And this is also another point that is important. You get specific, but not too specific. So what I started affirming was that I had a wonderful new job, making as much money or more as I was at the time as an administrator, that I was able to finish my contract as the administrator. I didn't want to bail out on them, right? And that the timing would be perfect so I could finish my PhD dissertation. I was working on that at the time. And so I just let it go. And a few months later, I got a call from someone who said that he had heard that I was into holistic health, which is not how I described myself at the time, but he was a professor at the Cal State University, Fullerton, which was not too far from my house, and he was going on sabbatical. And as it happened, he was teaching stress management as part of his, activities at the university. And he asked me if I would be interested in taking over while he was in sabbatical. Well, what do you think I said? I said, of course, that sounds so wonderful. And so I did actually have to go and teach one of his classes, and he recorded me so that he could, show the dean and have the dean listen to it to make sure I was okay. And I was. So I actually taught at Cal State Fullerton for almost 8 years, and it was a wonderful experience to be with the students and help them with something that was really practical instead of all the academic stuff that they were getting, which was very important for them, in their careers. But this was a foundation with the stress management to help them get through a lot of the things that they were working with. Okay, the next principle is allow your inner wisdom to guide you in the right balance between action and allowing. And of course, the action is the more masculine and the allowing is the more feminine. Now, sometimes you really can just meditate and things will show up. And I encourage you to work with that, practice at meditation, or again, whatever gets you in contact with that greater energy. But sometimes, of course, we have to take action. And one of the things that Rick and I had to do when we were deciding to move from the condo where I was living when we met was to go out and look at places. And so we got a real estate agent, we started looking, and we did our affirmations around what we wanted. Now, first of all, when we had started going out and looking, we were seeing all these very expensive homes. Some that there was no way we could afford them at the time in our own limited brain, but we would put them up on our dream board. And so we just kept going and saying, no, we're going to be guided to the perfect place. We had a couple of things on the list. One was that we wanted a beautiful view. Another was that we had a workshop area big enough for at least 20 people, and a couple of other smaller, less important things, but those were the 2 big ones. And also that the escrow would close on the condo just in time for paying for whatever we were going to for getting this new property. And that is exactly what happened. We had to go out with a real estate agent, went to a number of places. My husband told the the real estate agent that he wanted something unusual. And we did have something unusual finally. We ended up with a 7-acre ranch that had a beautiful view, a big loft that had at least 20 people it could hold for workshops. But also another very important piece was there were 2 acres of avocado trees. And I didn't know this at the time, but Rick had already always wanted an avocado farm. And he had actually investigated it years before and had a lot of information about the growing, etc. But it had never come to pass because of a variety of things when and what he was involved with at the time. But here was the universe remembering this strong affirmation, and we ended up with this ranch that also had avocado trees. So the universe never forgets a strong desire, and it may not have been said specifically as an affirmation. For him, it certainly wasn't, but there it was, what he had affirmed for or desired years before. Principle number 7, and this one in a way could have been number 1, couldn't it? To really believe that you deserve to have a wonderful life. Most of us weren't taught that for sure, right? But you deserve to have a wonderful life. And yes, there's some clearing out that needs to happen and the changing of old beliefs, but this is a really important principle to have. And what's interesting, that with Louise's work, how much we talk about some of the deservability, but the actual treatment that she did wasn't in the initial book, You Can Heal Your Life. It's in the workbook that came out later. And the 8th principle is to feel gratitude to the universe and the cosmic chef, whatever you want to call it, divine wisdom, God, whatever, for fulfilling your order in the most miraculous way. And again, isn't it wonderful when you have those surprises from the universe? You might want to post a couple of those in the chat if you'd like. But we do get those, brought to us in miraculous ways. And going back to the job that I ended up getting at Cal State Fullerton, if I had been trying to figure that out, I probably would have gone to the community college, the 2-year college, because at the time, I didn't think that you could work at a university unless you had a PhD. And so when we let go of how it's going to happen and doing that outlining, things show up in ways that you would never imagine, right? Now, why don't affirmations always work? Well, back to principle number 7. Sometimes we don't feel deserving, and those old beliefs really haven't, been released. There can be conflicting emotions. And I know in working with women, when I was doing more of my coaching work with women especially, sometimes the women would say, if I get more successful, I'll lose my relationship. Now, right there, you can hear a very negative thought, right? I can't be successful because it won't work with a relationship that I have. So we would turn that around and say, as I become more successful, my relationship deepens and is even more wonderful. So if you're thinking about something that you want, but you have this conflicting emotion, it's really important to get in touch with that and do some affirmations around that, or understand more about why you have that conflict going on within you. And sometimes these things really are coming out of the unconscious mind, and they're important as well to really try and get in touch with. We actually did another webinar, Christy and I, about over a month ago now, and called Overcoming Negative Thinking. And we talked about how all those things happen, in the unconscious mind. And so it's really important to just pay attention to your life and what's going on and what might be blocking the things that you actually do want. And I'll give you an example for myself as well. As I became more successful, there was a time when I started feeling some unusual anxiety. And what I got to was that I was going past what my father had done in terms of financial prosperity, and I was feeling uncomfortable with that. And he had a specific amount that he said, if I am successful, this is how much money I need to be making, right? And when I got past that, I had to really confront the fact that it was okay for me to go past the success that he had had. That's another one we find a lot of times when we're doing workshops and we say, who would you betray if you were more successful, right? And often it's a parent for one reason or another. Not always, but it can be. Sometimes the timing isn't right, just like I mentioned about, Rick, I had to wait 7 years for him. And so being patient and letting go and just understanding it's going to come at the right time. And then sometimes it's not being specific enough. And one of the people that I worked with, she was affirming for getting a job interviews. And she said, well, I'm getting these interviews, but I'm not getting a job. And I said, well, how about adding an affirmation to try actually getting the job afterwards? And she was like, oh, of course. So she added that in. Now I'm going to stop the share for a moment here and say, okay, this is a great question. How do we know that what we want is the right thing for us? Such a great question. And I think that if you really meditate on it and open yourself to the universe and say, okay, guide me in this, don't be concerned about whether or not it's right, because it will happen if it is, and it won't if it's not. And I'll give you an example from my own life again. I told you about teaching stress management for the university. And I had day classes and night classes. And one of the night classes, there were people in there that worked for big companies. And they got excited about stress management, and they actually had their companies hire me. So I did short workshops for Toyota, Dole Pineapple, Shell Oil. There were several others that I did that were just, short ones. And I started thinking, maybe I could, do a lot of stress management programs and just be really wealthy and stuff. But you know what? That did not connect with the core in my heart. Now, a piece of that was at that time in companies, talking about spirituality at all, or a lot of the personal growth stuff was a little too woo-woo for most of them. And so it wasn't really the right time. But I also realized it wasn't really in alignment with what I felt my life purpose was. And ultimately, I met Louise Hay and started working with her, and I knew that that was the fulfillment of my life purpose. So I would say, go ahead and do the affirmation, but at the same time say, this or something better. This or something better, because you really don't know what's coming along. And again, the universe has big plans for all of us. Doesn't mean you're going to be on the cover of Time magazine. In fact, that would be pretty stressful for almost all of you, right? But it does mean that you will be guided to your perfect place and the way that you are able to express your gifts in the most fulfilling way. And it's not going to be right away, but I'm going to be doing another program called Life Purpose and Finding Your Life Purpose. So that's a great question, but you can just relax about that and know that you're being guided. Okay. Any other questions before I go on? Yeah, just allowing, affirming, but allowing at the same time, right? Yeah. Because my affirmation for years had just been that I was helping other people to make positive changes in their life. And I didn't exactly know how that would come about. I had an affirmation that I was being of service to the planet. And before I even met Louise Hay, every job that I had was about service in some way. So we start with a foundation and then go from there. But that's a great question. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go back to the share and do a little more right now. Okay. Okay, come on. Okay. So the next one is really about awareness as a key to going through and understanding what might be blocking your affirmations, right? And I've used this analogy before, and so have many other people, that there's so much in that unconscious mind that blocks things, that it's really important to pay attention to your life. And what isn't working, there's something underneath there that you need to be aware of. You can meditate on it, you can ask for guidance, you can go to a workshop to help you uncover it, right? And we do a lot of that in the Heal Your Life work. So we really go into what is the inner child feeling, believing, what needs to be replaced, etc. And, it's really important to be able to go into those places and find out what is in the unconscious mind. So awareness is the key, and you start with, okay, what's happening in my life right now that isn't working the way I'd like it to? And let me take some time to see if I can unblock, some of the stuff that might be going on. Now, we are going to be doing a part 2 in overcoming negative thinking next Friday. So if you're on our mailing list, you'll automatically get an email to sign up for that, but I really encourage you to sign up for that. Now, in terms of doing some of the affirmations yourself, here's some words that I really like. It is easy. And one of the reasons I like that is because I had so many clients that would say, oh, it's so hard to do this, or it's so difficult, or it's so challenging. And if you're saying that, then of course, that's what keeps happening. So with your affirmations, I'm going to give you an example coming up to say, it is easy. And another one is, I am guided. What are you being guided to do or say or be, or where are you guided to go? And I remember one unusual time when I wasn't really feeling well, but I had this strong desire that I had to go out and get some coffee and a muffin for some reason. And what happened was I happened to go to this place to do that. Again, I hadn't been feeling very well. It was very strange for me to go out, but I ended up talking to a woman who was just getting started in AA, and she really needed some support. And somehow we were brought together so I could encourage her and just help her through what she was going through. So I really like the words, I am guided. And especially when you're working on, moving through some issue in your life, you're guided to any resource that you need. I'll bet we have a lot of people on this webinar today who are guided with Louise's book at the perfect time. I've had so many people tell me, oh, the book fell off the shelf, or some friend of mine said, you need this book. And so they were able to start in that path. And it's when your heart is open and desiring. So I want to commend all of you because you have a desire to make positive changes in your life, and you most likely have a desire to help others as well. The next one I like is any resource I need to help me with this, to help move me through this, comes to me. Because so often we're trying to do it all ourselves and not realizing how many, resources there really are. So for example, it is easy for me to nourish my mind with positive and enthusiastic thoughts. It is easy for me to nourish my mind with positive and enthusiastic thoughts. Every resource I need for my healing on any level comes to me easily and quickly. So what do you need? Or even every resource I need for resolving and this issue in my life comes to me quickly and easily. So do you need help with a relationship? Do that affirmation for anything that you need to help you with this relationship, to have it become more harmonious. Or your health, that you're guided to any resource you need for your actual good health. There's so many resources for that. And I would say on a lot of this, just be careful too when you're doing your research to get to reliable places, because there's a lot out there that's kind of a scam at this point, like, oh, do this meditation in 5 minutes and you'll be totally healed. If you could absolutely believe that 100%, that is very possible what would happen. But most people don't have that kind of depth to get to that point. So I'd say, do your research. Yes, do your affirmations. There's lots of them on, on the internet. And actually, Christy's going to put in the link to our YouTube channel. You're not going to be surprised. For some of you, Heal Your Life altogether, youtube.com/Heal Your Life altogether. There's a lot with Louise Hay on there. There's my affirmations, and there's other webinars that we've done that I know will be really helpful for you. And I put this one specifically for health. I've been working with some people recently on their health issues. If there's a health issue, I'm guided to anyone or any help I need for my complete health and well-being. And, again, there are a lot of places for that. Louise Hay herself used to go to Optimum Health Institute outside of San Diego in Lemon Grove. And she would go there like once every 6 months or so, just because she felt like it'd be a great way to just do some detox and have a week away in terms of just focusing on herself and her health. There's a lot of places that are very healthy these days. So, I mean, again, I just keep encouraging you just to be guided. Now, I wanted to talk about prosperity specifically because that is such a big issue. And actually, Christy and I did a few prosperity webinar a few weeks ago. So if you haven't seen that one, we do have a link in our information that is being sent out to our interest list. And I'm assuming that most of you would be on the interest list, and that's how you got to this webinar, right? But let's talk about prosperity a bit because, and I quote Louise often on this one, that she says it's easier to do a course on sexuality than it is on prosperity because people just really get their buttons pushed on prosperity and they seem to get pretty stuck with that. So what have you been affirming in terms of your prosperity? When we do our workshops, and sometimes we do an anonymous, little poll or survey, and always the very first one is prosperity. Second one, relationships in terms of concern. The third one is career, and the fourth one is usually health. But I want to talk about prosperity a little bit more because I know that a number of you on this webinar are really interested in the Heal Your Life training, and it is a significant investment. We know that. However, if you're thinking, I can't afford it, then you're not opening up your mind to the possibilities of where the funds might come from. When I first met Louise, was just starting her week-long intensive. She was doing the 2-day Love Yourself, Heal Your Life workshop, which we now train people to lead. But she was starting the 1-week intensives. And at the time, I was married to my first husband, and we were both graduate students. So, we were on a budget. We had very little money other than rent and food. And I really, in my heart, I knew I was supposed to be at that first intensive that Louise was doing. And quite honestly, I wish I had written down where I got the money from, but I didn't. But I started doing the affirmations, and I did get the money to go to it. And then I got the money to go to the second one. And after the second one, she asked me to be on staff. So the first thing to do with prosperity is just to open your mind to the possibilities, and not saying it's too hard or even in any other area of your life, regardless of the training. But if you are interested in the training, you can have a one-to-one talk with me, and we'll talk about a payment plan. Christy's going to put the link to the Calendly one-to-one scheduling for you if you'd like to do that. I'd be happy to talk to you. It is an amazing program. We do everything to help you be successful afterwards. And it also was approved, of course, by Louise Hay. So one of my favorite affirmations, and you've probably heard this one before, is I welcome an income or finances or money, however you want to put it, from unexpected and expected sources. So prosperity is important. And the affirmation here is I am abundant in love, joy, happiness, and money, because abundance is really much more than just money, isn't it? We want to be abundant in love and joy and happiness. Now, what I'd like to do now is guide you through a short meditation with affirmations. So I'm going to ask you to just take a few nice deep breaths. Close your eyes. And once again, just allow your body to relax. Breathing in relaxation. And breathing out any tension. Place your hands on your heart. And just imagine that you're breathing in and out through your heart. And you're really allowing your heart to open and your mind to open, letting go of limitations, and just focusing on the openness of your heart and your mind. It is easy for me to nourish my mind with positive and uplifting thoughts. Anything I need to heal on any level or any issue comes to me quickly and easily. I am open to all resources. I am grateful for all the good in my life. I attract wonderful opportunities to fulfill my life purpose. My heart is overflowing with love. I am creative. I now know and accept that I deserve a wonderful life. I am connected with my inner wisdom. I experience daily miracles in my life. I enjoy wonderful, nurturing relationships. I now know and accept that I deserve a wonderful life. I am grateful for my health. I am grateful for the way that my body carries me through life. I am grateful for the work that I do right now, bringing in my income. I know that I am being guided to the best ways to express my skills and abilities. I love and approve of myself. I am willing to love myself enough to really go for my dreams. I trust myself. I am grateful for my spiritual knowledge. I am grateful for my divine connection with all of life. I am grateful for all the relationships in my life right now. I'm guided to anything I need to do for a more harmonious relationship. I am excited about all the possibilities for my life. And so it is. Okay, you just stretch and open your eyes. And one of the techniques that Louise Hay popularized is mirror work. And saying your affirmations in the mirror is just so wonderful. Here's a mirror that I actually got in Greece many years ago when I was there doing a workshop with translation, but it's wonderful to do your affirmations in the mirror. This one actually hangs in my office right behind my door, so I can do them anytime that I would like. And I'll just share with you one other affirmation. And again, this is about timing and being patient. The place where I met Louise Hay was a group called the Inside Edge, and they were all very much into personal growth and into spiritual work. And the original one, Louise was part of herself and was with some amazing people. Mark Victor Hansen, Jack Canfield, and some others, all of whom went on to become best-selling authors, as she did as well. But another group in Orange County opened up, and I found out about that one and started going to that one even before I had met Louise. But that was actually, I take that back. That was when I met Louise, because I was invited to this breakfast meeting, and that's where I got to connect with her. But I was so impressed with the group and their energy and what they were doing. And that's another piece of it. Get connected with groups that have the kind of like-minded energy that you want, because that will inspire you as well, right? So I was ongoing with this group, and probably a year or so later, maybe a couple of years later, we were doing some affirmations with another teacher that was well known at the time. And what popped out of my mouth was, I am an internationally known workshop leader. And quite honestly, I had never thought that before. That was not a conscious affirmation. I was already doing workshops, but I almost kind of looked around to say, who said that? Because I was so surprised about it. And it didn't happen immediately. It did happen through Louise and through Hay House sending myself out to some of the other countries, especially the UK, which is where the idea for the training started. But it took about 2 years. And in the meantime, because I was already leading some workshops, I really worked on honing my skills, and I didn't think much about it. I never tried to figure out how I was going to be an international workshop leader. That affirmation just popped out of my mind, out of my mouth. So that may happen to you as well. And if it does, that's something really deep in your heart that you want, that you might not have even been willing to express at the time. So be conscious of what you're talking about day by day. Really pay attention to your words and your thoughts. I'd encourage you to join in any of our other webinars to just keep deepening your work in this area. And really being able to understand that, our words do have power, our thoughts have power. And so when you catch yourself with a negative, like, oh, I can't afford that, or no, I can't do that, or now I'm not good enough, or whatever it is, stop, take a deep breath, and know that you are good enough and you deserve to have a wonderful life. So in terms of the affirmations, stay aware of your thoughts and feelings. As much as you can, be clear about what you want. Be consistent in using affirmations. It doesn't work if you just do one in the morning and then go out and have a lot of negative thoughts the rest of the day. It's a practice. It's a practice like anything else. You're becoming a master of the Olympics of your mind, if you want to think of it that way. Trust in the timing and fulfillment, and have fun with your affirmations. Again, do them for every area of your life and do them for fun things as well. So I've saved this little story for last. I was at another workshop at one point, after I'd met Louise, actually, and this particular person said, everybody's always affirming for money. Why don't you just affirm for what you want? And so I thought about that, and I thought, well, I've been to Hawaii with my ex-husband at that point and had a lot of fun there. I thought I would like a free week in Hawaii. That would be fun. And so I just put it out there, and this is a wonderful way to just kind of test things if you want to. So I just put it out there, and I would feel the breeze, the tropical breeze on my cheek. I would smell the plumeria in my thoughts. I would visualize myself being in Hawaii. And a couple of months later, again, we're talking about timing here. A couple of months later, a woman that I had actually worked with a bit as a coach, because her son had HIV. And I happened to run into her somewhere, and we were talking. She had just been to Hawaii, to a conference in Hawaii. And I said, oh, well, where do you stay when you go to Hawaii? And she said, oh, well, my husband and I are part owners in a condo, and I'd love to have you use it for free for a week because you've helped me. And I thought, whoa, this stuff works. And we know it does. Now, what's important is I let go of it. I wasn't invested in when it happened or even if it happened, quite honestly. But that's how it happened. And so, yes, absolutely, I did have that free week in Hawaii. I asked the guy that I was dating at the time if he wanted to go, and we didn't have airfare. So we paid for our airfare, and I realized that somewhere in the back of my mind, there was this little voice that said, you can't get free airfare. Nobody gets free airfare. I mean, that was a negative thought, right? So this taught me a great lesson about being open on one level and closed on another. And I encourage you to pay attention for yourself. As we're flying over to Hawaii, the guy turns to me and says, I think I had enough frequent flyer miles. We could have had free tickets. Oh my God. Okay, do I throw him off the plane or me? But it was a great lesson because it really taught me to open to my good on every level and not to put a limitation on the universe. So I really encourage you with that as well. No limitations, just be open and know that you are an important part of the universal energy. And there seems to be quite a bit going on these days, and we are a place of love and peace to be able to help others. So here's a few websites. My website for my book, orderingfromthecosmickitchen.com, has hundreds of affirmations you can download for free. If you're interested in the training that we're doing in Florida, which is June 14th through the 20th, we start in the afternoon on the 14th and finish in the afternoon of the 20th. It's in Orlando, but all the details there are healyourlifetraining.com/Florida-2025. And again, if you'd like to talk to me personally about a payment plan, or if you have any questions about the training and whether or not it's really, something that for you and your own career aspirations would be helpful, because we have a lot of people who come to us who already have some other kind of career, especially in alternative work. They may already be life coaches, massage therapists, yoga people, etc., even regular trained therapists. They come to us because they really want to learn how to do workshops. And as part of the training, you get workshops that are already complete for you that you can lead up to 15 different workshops. You get all the materials, you get music, scripts, social media, etc. So you can, for the most of them, you can teach them either in person or online. So there's that option. And actually, that option was made clear to us during COVID that we really needed to adapt all the workshops that had all been in person before to be online. The one that stays in person is Louise's signature 2-day workshop because that is really so in depth. And that one has been experienced, by thousands and thousands of people worldwide. And I just had someone call me the other day and say that that workshop transformed her life. And that's the comment that we get all the time, is that 2-day workshops transform their life. And so do the other workshops in Louise's work. So again, you get complete materials, and we would be happy to talk to you more about the program and whether it is right for you. And then finally, some bonuses for thank you for showing up today. There'll be an email coming out to you tomorrow, and that one is going to have a link to my 2025 Ordering from the Cosmic Kitchen journal. It's 62 pages. It has exercises for you to do. It has places for you to put your affirmations and also for you to write in your manifestations, how things showed up for you. And there's a set of affirmations for every single month. So, we're already into April, but you'll get the whole thing. You can go back and do January through March if you want to. If you would like to do a specific coaching session with me, affirmations coaching session, because there's some particular issue that you've been working on and you just haven't been able to get it to shift, I'm offering that for $79 instead of the $129. And that you can also schedule on that Calendly link. There's a free session about the training, but then there's the $79 one for the affirmations coaching session. And then if you are interested in the Orlando training, we are offering a discount of $600 to you, and $400 comes off of the deposit, which goes down to $595, and then the $200 extra comes off of the balance. And the balance is $4,100, I think, with that, but it includes your lodging, double occupancy, most of your meals, all the training materials, the training week, of course, and substantial follow-up afterwards. So it really is an incredible value for you. So I'm going to stop the share now. Are there any other questions? Okay. Yes. Olivia has some questions, and what are those? Okay, let me look. I have to find them first. Anything in the Q&A? Nope. Okay. Okay. Oh, how does meditation help in understanding your life purpose? Yes, that's a really wonderful question. Well, because it gets you in touch with that deeper wisdom. And so then you're going to be guided to what it is. I think, quite honestly, and Rick and I have talked about this many times, is that there's an underlying life purpose for everyone, but then there's how you express it with your own skills and abilities. So the fundamental, foundation that we feel is that the life purpose for everyone is to be of service and to share unconditional love. That's it. But then the way that you do that has a lot to do with your specific skills and abilities. So there may be someone who's really interested in nutrition, who's able to help people eat better, or someone in fitness. My skills and abilities ended up being, more along the lines of creating affirmations and also for doing workshops. So there's so many different ways that you can actually share your skills and abilities. But again, if you get back to that foundation, that it's to share unconditional love and be of service, then you go from there. And the meditation will help you get in touch with that. And you can ask people that you know, what am I good at? Now, I know that sounds like it might be a weird question, but it's not really, because oftentimes you're really good at something and you don't even realize it. One person I worked with, everyone was always telling her, you listen so well and you really understand what I'm asking. And what she realized ultimately was that she really had the skills to be a counselor, and she needed to go and do some study for that, to be a counselor or a coach. So that's where you start. And when you know you've received guidance, it just feels right and things happen. People show up in your life to help you. So what I would say is you're trying to figure it out a little too much. So instead of trying to figure it out too much, trust yourself, trust the universe, and know that you are a valuable person on this earth and you have a wonderful place to share. Okay. Okay, someone else had a question. I don't see any on the Q&A part. And I don't see another one. Okay. So, okay, if you want to, some of you may already know this, but if you click the three little dots down at the bottom of the chat, you can actually download all the chat. Okay, you can download it so you've got all the links. Some of them will be in that email that you're going to get tomorrow as a follow-up to the program. But you will also be able to download the chat and just be able to save it. And then you've got all the links right there that you can use. Okay. So I want to thank all of you for showing up today. I want to thank Christy for being on the chat and helping to, facilitate that and put in the links and just encourage everyone. And I would love to see you on another webinar. Again, we've got part 2 of the Overcoming Negative Thinking one next week, where we're going to talk a little more about a review with that and also more of Louise Hay's techniques for overcoming the negative thinking. And there will be some other ones that I'm sure you'll want to join in the future as well. So namaste, much love to you all. Thank you for taking the time to being here. 90% of life is showing up, and you showed up today. So thank you. Bye-bye.